The new 4th gen iPad Air was announced this week at Apple's non-iPhone September event. It's been given a number of improvements over the previous generation Air and can now be seen as a direct competitor to the iPad Pro. So, which one should you get? Hey, I'm Jerry, and I know, just like me, you're wondering which iPad you should buy if it came down to the new iPad Air 4 or the 2020 iPad Pro. I use my 2018 iPad Pro for just about everything, and if it died today, I'd probably be struggling with the same questions you have because they both have benefits over the other one. To try and figure this out, let's see how they compare, starting with design. Both the new Air and the current iPad Pros share an all-screen design with slim bezels that wrap around a big, beautiful screen. The sides are a flat aluminum that angle toward the back where you will find the camera or cameras, Apple logo, and smart connector. Around the edges, you have holes for speakers, USB-C port, and power button. The only other design difference that I can see is the speaker holes are not the same. The Air has less holes and an uneven amount on each side, compared to the balanced amount in the iPad Pro. And just to keep all of this in context, there's a $200 price difference between the new 4th generation iPad Air and the 2020 iPad Pro 11-inch. The iPad Air 4 comes in at $599 for a 64GB version, which can be upgraded to 256GB. The iPad Pro 11-inch comes in at $799, starting with 128GB, and you can get that all the way up to 1TB. The Air now comes in 5 colors, with new rose gold, green, sky blue, and of course, silver and space gray. The Pro only comes in silver and space gray still, and of course everybody's going to want the green and the sky blue. And I have to keep reminding myself that I already have an iPad. Also, am I the only one who's wondering why Apple moved away from such a colorful product lineup? They had the iMacs of all sorts of flavors, iBooks, iPod minis, iPod nanos. Then they went all silver and gray for a decade. But I'm happy that they're starting to bring colors back to everything. Now we just need a bright blue, green, pink, yellow, whatever color iMac and MacBook. The display on both devices is roughly 11 inches and what Apple is calling Liquid Retina, which is just a fancy way of saying one of the best LCD panels you can find. The display is laminated to the glass, so it almost feels like you're just touching the pixels. Both displays include True Tone and anti-reflective coatings, while outputting the same wide gamut P3 colors. There are a few differences in the displays for these two devices. The Pro has 120Hz ProMotion in the display, which is super nice for scrolling on a larger screen. The text just looks crisp when scrolling. The Air comes in at 500 nits of brightness, while the Pro 20% higher with 600 nits. I may be an outsider, but I actually use my iPad outside, and the extra brightness that it provides is extremely helpful. The iPad Air 4 has 2 speakers, which are listed as stereo in landscape. The diagrams on Apple.com are a little weird on this. The Air shows speakers covering a range of both sets of holes on each side, but the specs say 2 speakers in total. So is one speaker stretched out across each side? I don't know. Biometrics has changed on the new iPad Air. On the Pro, we have of course Face ID, just like on the last few iPhones that I personally love. When I need to enter a password for LastPass, it just pops up, scans my face, and fills in my info. The iPad Air has now ditched the historic home button with Touch ID and moved it to the sleep-wake button up top. I can't say how well the Touch ID on the top button will work, but we can assume based on all previous Touch ID sensors that it's going to work perfectly well as expected. And in a COVID world, it actually makes a lot of sense with many people wearing masks. People, wear masks. I would like to see this new Touch ID come to the iPhone as well with Face ID so we have multiple options. Both the iPad Pro and Air can also utilize the same accessories now. That means that the Apple Pencil 2 and Magic Keyboard, which you know I love, are now compatible with the Air. Not only that, but with USB-C, you can now use many USB or USB-C accessories for connecting cameras, SSDs, external displays, and more. This really opens up the potential of what iPad can do. I sometimes connect my iPad Pro to a display when editing with LumaFusion, and I use my Samsung T7 SSD to transfer large files. When you look at the camera, both iPads have the same wide-angle f1.8 12-megapixel camera. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I use iPad cameras, but they have them. They can both record in 4K at up to 60 frames per second and 1080p at 120 frames per second. The Pro has an additional ultra-wide angle lens to frame even wider shots and a LiDAR sensor. As far as I know, the LiDAR sensor is only used for Apple ARKit to determine distance for augmented reality, and not for any regular camera features. If you know of any things that can take advantage of the LiDAR sensor, let me know below. One of the biggest head scratchers here is the processor that was added to the Air. For the first time in a long time, an iPad got a brand new processor before the iPhone. Now I know that iPads have been getting X and now Z variants for a few years, but this is the first time a brand new generation has been added to the iPad before the iPhone since the iPhone 5. Apple says that the A14 is 40% faster than the A12 and 30% faster in graphics performance. We have no way to test this performance yet compared to the A12Z and the iPad Pro, but this does have people scratching their heads about why the Air is getting a much better processor than the Pro. The processor difference really makes the decision of which iPad to go with difficult to answer. On one hand, you get the Air with the fastest mobile chip around. Spend $200 less than on a Pro and get 90% of what the Pro will give you, including the ability to use all the same accessories. On the other hand, with the Pro, you get likely much better speakers, ProMotion display, brighter display, an ultra-wide camera, better AR hardware, and Face ID for $200 more than the Air, but with a slightly slower processor. So, which one do you get? If you can wait until a new Pro is announced, you should. That way, you can see which processor they add to the Pro, and if it is the same or better, you will be more clearly able to justify the price difference. Or not. If you want a super fast iPad that lacks a few extras and saves you $200, you should get the Air. If you want a larger iPad than 10.9 or 11 inches, you only have one option. However, if you're really smart, you should skip both of these and just get the 8th gen regular iPad because you'll be hard pressed to find much of a difference performance-wise just using these as a tablet. For me, if my 2018 iPad died today, first I'd cry, but then I would replace it with a 2020 iPad Pro 12.9 inches because I want the larger screen and all of the extras. I really don't think that most people running most apps will be able to tell the difference in performance between any of these devices, including me. So the addition of ProMotion, better speakers, and let's face it, let's just be honest, just having the best device is important enough to me to justify the price. That's just me. Let me know below what you think. Will you be getting a new Air or waiting for a new Pro? If you want to see how I use my iPad more like a laptop, check out this video over here. Hit the thumbs up button if you liked it, hit the subscribe button if you want, and I'll see you next time.